Hey, Hallie.
Hey, Cynthia, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for agreeing to chat with me. I'm so excited to talk with you. Um,
Um,
I feel like our worlds have crossed over so many times throughout the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years. And it's like, I don't always get to see you, but like we're like kind of parallel next to each other in a way. Does that make sense? Are you experiencing that or is that just me?
I was glad that we finally connected. I feel like
Yeah.
I've seen you online and like just in passing at a couple shows, but
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I was excited that you had this idea to run a class the same time that you're doing your show in artwork. And thank you for the interview. This
Well,
is so
I don't know. Did I
exciting.
have the idea? Because I don't think I did. Actually, it's crazy. Jackie was like, I want to get Haley to come and teach a class. And then you reached out to me and I was like, wait a minute. So that just kind of like is par for course for like what happens with you. I ended up in Cape May the same time that you were down there doing a
Oh
workshop.
yeah, awesome.
And then we got to go to the museum together with the Jeweled Warrior group. That was so much fun. That was a great time. That's the first time I feel like I got to really chat with you.
Yes, I
Um,
want them to do that again.
I know, I was thinking that
Like to get a
recently.
group together like that. And that was special. Yeah.
Yeah. And I came across your work first at the Jeweled Warrior years ago when, like, just when she opened, I bought a piece for my mom. It was one of the, like, I think it was an oyster with the pearl. Is that right? Yeah. And that was just such a beautiful piece. And I was actually thinking about it this morning and thinking about your work and like how much detail you put into the jewelry, which it's got to be like really difficult to do. Like from coming from a 2D artist, like and they're like tiny. These pieces are like tiny and there's so much intricate detail. They're just so beautiful. So I can't wait to chat with you about all of that. But you're an incredible artist. I also saw that you went to PAFA. Is that or not PAFA?
Arts.
You went to the University of Arts. Okay. And then you've been teaching like all over the place. I saw that you taught at Wayne Art Center.
I started at Wayne Art Center and Art Fusion in Pottstown. That was almost 7 years ago.
Wow.
So I've been teaching a lot at many locations. I teach at like all the local art centers, I would say. And then more recently, I started doing traveling workshops. So I bought all the tools to be able to teach anywhere I want, basically.
Oh, that's
And I can teach up to 10 people. I would love to be rented out for parties in the future, where I can
oh,
bring
that
all.
could be fun.
No, I think, it's not something that you see. A lot of people do this with like jewelry selling parties, but not jewelry making parties,
Mm-hmm.
where you're actually getting to use traditional metalsmithing tools.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of like heavy weight to carry around, which is probably why a lot of people don't do it, but it's really fun.
Uh-huh.
And I want to give people what I found, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so can you share? Well, I'm just gonna dive in. I have prepared a bunch of questions, so I'd love to like hear from your perspective the story behind your journey and just a little bit more about like, how much is it selling product versus teaching and things like that, just because I think it's interesting. But specifically, you consider yourself a nautical jewelry artist, right? And I'd love to hear also about how like the ocean became such a central theme in your work. So that's like three different questions in one.
I
You can
know.
kind of dive in and like talk about whatever you
Sure.
there.
So growing up, I was always a nature lover. I basically lived in the woods in Delaware County. So we
Yeah.
had like a creek in the backyard, and I was always down there fishing with my dad or catching frogs. And I was very like tomboyish. We had a boat growing up that we lived on every single summer until my parents bought a beach house in Cape May.
Oh,
So
that's
we were
awesome.
always like out fishing, 12-hour fishing trips offshore, which really opened my eyes to what is out there. I got to see some gigantic fish that were super colorful, so pretty, tuna, mahi-mahi, sailfish, things like that, sports fish. Um,
Just around here, like off the East
yeah, just
Coast.
right off the New Jersey coast. We
Okay.
would basically wake up at 4 a.m. and we would take the boat 2 hours offshore, full speed. So that's 80 to 100 miles offshore in the middle of the ocean.
That's
And we stay
crazy.
there all day long fishing. And I actually got seasick a lot. So eventually I got tired of being seasick and I wanted to stay home with my friends at the beach house and, just sit at the beach and collect seashells. And it was a lot more chill and relaxing. And I was still exposed to nature.
Mhm.
So that's where my interest of seashells really began. I researched everything that I found. I would just Google them, try to figure out where it came from, why it's here, maybe why it died. When you find those shells with the holes in them.
I was
I found,
just gonna talk about that. Okay, go ahead. Keep
yes,
going.
yeah.
Keep going.
I had no idea that, if it's a perfectly drilled hole in a clamshell, it's probably from a moon snail,
Yeah.
which are the shark eye shells that people collect, the really round ones, or the ones that hermit crabs really like.
Yeah.
Uh, make for
My
their
daughter found one, I guess it was like 2 years ago. And we made a necklace out of it. And she was like, yeah, I found it on the beach. And like, I always thought like
hole.
somebody left it there with the hole in it because it was like I didn't realize
Yeah.
that it was nature doing its thing. And then I saw it in a book, a kid's book that was all about shells, and it
Yeah.
talked about that. And I was like, that's incredible. So then this year when we went, we just looked for all of the shells with the holes and we like collected them
Yes.
because it was such a
Yeah.
cool thing. And they make perfect necklaces. So anyway, sorry,
Right.
keep going.
So jewelry making has been it's such an old traditional technique. It's such an old human thing to do. And
Mhm.
it started with seashells.
Oh.
Collect those shells with holes in them, rocks with holes in them on the beach, and make jewelry out of them. It was one of the first original ways to adorn yourselves was to use like natural objects.
Hmm.
Um, so
Love that.
that being said, I never really thought I was going to be a jeweler. I would make hemp shell bracelets,
Hmm.
hemp and shell and
Yeah.
bead bracelets on the beach and just like give them to friends, and try to get the lifeguards to like me. I would like give them stuff.
Yes.
But I went to art school. I always was painting. I was always drawing growing up. I was, drawing pictures of animals and nature and things like that. And I took so many extra classes. Being a painting major, I was a little bit bored at first because I was looking at all these other projects that my friends were doing. And I was like, whoa, there's so much more out here.
Yeah.
Uh, and I actually ended up taking a jewelry making class by accident. Not by accident, but just I had no interest in it.
It
And
was
it was
like an extra thing that you were
credit.
gonna do.
Yeah.
But
It was
yeah.
just a credit that I had to fill. And out of all the crafts courses, jewelry making was the only one that fit my schedule because I was taking like sculpture classes and I was a minor in photography. And I was like, oh, great. Well, I'll sit through this. This will be fine. But when I got to hold the torch, I was blown away. Like it was so powerful. It was so much fun. And just to make one piece, I had to do so many different techniques and so many
Mhm.
different tools were used and so many different processes had to be honed. And I was never bored. I'm still never bored. I've been doing it for 10 years now. And I'm like, I could learn something new every single day in this craft and not learn it all. There's just so much to do.
Wow. I feel like that too about what I'm doing, but I imagine like the all of the background in drawing and painting has influenced like so much of your work
Oh
too.
yeah, for sure. I think it's helped with one of my lines. Like I do the cast seashell line, right? That's basically just copying that object, that treasure that I collected,
Mm-hmm.
and refining it, polishing it, turning it into jewelry, making it wearable. But then the other line is where I find objects like sea glass and shell shards, like the broken pieces, and I draw what I think that piece could become. And it's typically a sea creature. So I call them my swimmers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sea glass shard in the middle, and it's either like a jellyfish or it turns into a whale. So yeah, I get to be a lot more creative with that line, I would say. Um, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, your work is like, it's incredible. It's so beautiful. And I think I read on your website, you said something like heirlooms. Let me just find it because I don't want to mess it up. Oh, yeah, it's a
Heirlooms for
brand of
ocean.
heirlooms for ocean lovers who strive to protect our seas. And I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. And they really are heirlooms. Like we're trying to save some stuff for you to make for my girls so that they can have it forever, and it's just gonna be special because you made it, and also it'll be like a little piece of memory for them
Yeah.
from being at Cape May. Or yeah. So anyway, keep going. What else do you want to share about that, about your story?
So I went to school, I graduated in 2015 with my jewelry metalsmithing degree, and I still felt like I could learn more. And luckily, my a friend at school, he was the shop supervisor of the metals department. He offered me a temporary position to take over for him while he was on parental leave. So even though I was living at home with my parents, I commuted in every day and I worked at the school. They gave me a studio space. It was incredible. I got to sit in on all the extra classes that I had missed. I guess freshman and sophomore year, and that's actually where I first saw the casting process. And all the while I was working downtown, my dad built me a studio in his business in Westchester. So I have like this awesome studio space inside his business.
Parents sound like amazing, but
They
yeah.
are. I'm very lucky. I'm so lucky. I've had so much support. I think that's everything when you're trying to do something on your own, especially in the art field, like you really need encouragement. And I've had it this whole time. It's been incredible. I was so nervous about, you know, just like being, I guess, being a leader, like being a teacher to me, it still surprises me because I
Mhm.
was so shy and like, I don't know, just having the encouragement at the base of it all has really propelled me forward and has helped me become what I've become. And, watching my dad and his business definitely was an influence on mine. Um, I immediately started making my jewelry after my job at UArts ended and applying for craft shows from here to Cape May because it was all nautical themed. I just kept sticking with it. And I guess I forgot to say when I was at UArts, my teacher, she was the one that really encouraged me to start making um, ocean themed jewelry because I was making my projects just to fulfill any assignment. And she was like, well, why are you doing this? Like, make something that you like. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I like fish. So I started making ocean themed stuff back then. It was my jewelry classes that really helped promote that inspiration. So
You had some great teachers too.
I did. I had Sharon Church. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She's
No.
she's like the OG of Philadelphia area jewelry art.
I'll have
Um,
to share a link for her, but yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that's all about my.
That is such a cool story. I love hearing about all the people who've like impacted you and encouraged you. And I was thinking about that even like this week because my husband's helping me with frames. And somebody was like, that's so great that he supports you. And I was like, honestly, I couldn't even do it without him. Like, and what you're saying about your parents, it feels like that, like you just can't do the creative path alone. It's like vulnerable enough and like you just need people to encourage you. It's just the
Yeah,
way it
yeah.
is. But I love also like the impact that your work has, and just like how you like your intention behind it. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about your commitment to positively impacting the environment, like the ocean specifically. How do you incorporate that into your jewelry making process?
So when I'm doing all this research, when I find the object on the beach, I'm deep diving into how it lives. And
Mhm,
that's mostly for me at first because I want to understand why I'm so interested in this form.
mhm,
Why, like, and why it's important. It's not here just because it's here. It's on this planet for a reason, right? What is its like link to the rest of us? So I started doing this research and I learned that I can tell this story to others. It's a way for me to speak about what I know. It's a way for me to build my own confidence because I know so much. I know so many random facts about the ocean. And it's like weird party stories, like nobody wants to know about the mating habits of a crab, but it's kind of funny.
the
Like it's
conversation
fun. It's
started for
great. It is.
sure.
Yeah. So
I loved when I saw you like getting all your stones out, and I think you said, and you're like, I need some help sorting these, and you said, didn't you say like everyone was like, I want to help you?
and I was so surprised, but oh my gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's so many facets to it. Like I, it's just a rabbit hole that I can't get enough of. I want to learn more. So that being said, I started doing research on conservation because I started learning about, all these issues in our ecosystem and how they're man-made issues. And I learned about a bunch of local nonprofits through this research, and I started giving back a portion of my profits to a new one every year, and now it's several every year. And um, I'm trying to work more closely with them and make specific pieces that will donate to specific causes. So that's where I'm going. That's where I'm headed. But places like the Cape May Nature Center,
Mhm.
which is a portion of the New Jersey Audubon Nature Center, the Wetlands Institute, the Murr Institute in Delaware, and more recently, the Cape May Point Science Center. Have you heard of that yet?
Mm-mm.
They just took over the old nuns place that was by the lighthouse.
Yep.
So my friends built this nonprofit. They turned it into a science center, and I'll be teaching a workshop there pretty soon too. So I donated a piece to their online auction, and basically all these organizations have online auctions or in-person fundraiser events, and I'm able to give a piece for their auctions. Like,
Yeah, it benefits them because then they're selling it and getting the profits and it
right.
goes back to the conservation. Yeah, that's amazing.
They'll sell for like way more than it's worth, which is really cool.
Hmm.
But yeah,
I think that like it really comes across in your work. Like there's more to the art than just like creative self-expression and like all these things that you're telling me, like the way you get back, but also like the research that you're doing and all of it just like makes this jewelry all that more special. And like, even though you can't necessarily know all of that by holding a piece of your jewelry, like you can kind of feel that. Like there's something really special about it. So,
right. Thanks.
yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about that? So I am so excited so I've been wanting to take one of your jewelry classes. Now it's gonna do it for fun and really just because I want to hang out with you. Like there's no way I'm gonna I'm not the best three-dimensional artist, but it will be so fun. And I have been trying to connect with you about that. And then you're doing you've already run some workshops at the gallery, right? At Artwork Gallery?
Yes, I've done two so far.
Yeah.
And
So we're going to be hosting Nature's Table in October, and you were mentioning like you might want to, or you're going to do another one in October. So you picked the date.
it's listed on October. It's listed on my website. You can go get tickets for it now. I have seats for 10 people.
Okay.
It's October 17th. It's the Thursday afternoon starting at 4 p.m. And it's just a 3-hour class. You get to make 2 sterling silver rings. It's a very simple project to get your feet wet.
Mhm.
It's anyone can do it. This is when you were saying I'm not a good 3D artist. It's a skill-based class. It's a
Uh-huh.
skill-based craft that you're learning. It's not a conceptual art class.
Right.
Something that like practice makes you better, right?
And
Anyone can
they're
do it.
stackable rings, you were saying?
Yeah, they're on my finger. I don't know if you can see
Oh
them.
yeah. And they're
So,
like hammered a little bit.
yeah. So you can pick the different textures from different hammers that I will
Love
give you.
that. Yeah.
It's so much fun. I basically will demonstrate for 5 minutes and then you catch up to me and I walk around and make sure everyone's doing it right. No one's going to hurt themselves. And then I demo again and then you catch up to me and I do it in bite-sized pieces. So it's really easy to digest. And, people are afraid sometimes at first because the tools look really foreign, but when you
Hmm.
start to use them, you get better, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's just when you're done, you're amazed. You're like, wow, I just made this thing that's going to last forever. And it's tactile. It's something that I can wear. It's something I can gift. It's something, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah. And I imagine it'd just be like a fun time too, like to chat with the people who are there. And
yeah,
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 it's a good way to,
yeah.
yeah, just slow down and enjoy the moment.
My last class, I had someone come up from Baltimore
Oh, wow.
in Phoenixville.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That's awesome.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I better get my ticket after we get off just to make sure I can secure my spot because
I'm
I'm
so
definitely
excited that
coming.
you're gonna be
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask, well, you've shared all of that, kind of like what they can take away from the experience. It sounds like just going to be a great time.
Mhm.
Um, but I also wanted to ask, what is it about the jewelry making process that draws you and your students into the process? And how do you see this craft impacting people on like a deeper level?
So like I said, I think people go into it a little hesitant. They're a little nervous, but they're a little excited too. And like everyone has someone in their group, their family, their friends that does something with their hands for a living or for pleasure or for whatever it is. My pop-up was a tinkerer. He
Mhm.
was a carpenter, but he would take things apart and try to learn how they worked and put them back together again so that he could fix them when they broke.
Mhm.
I watched my dad do remodeling my whole life.
Is that what he does? I don't think you said that in the beginning.
A kitchen and bath remodeler.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Mhm. So, we all have this somewhat familiarity with tools, but maybe we don't quite know how to use them. And this craft is so traditional that lots of the tools have gone unchanged for centuries. So we're using
Wow.
these tools that still work the same to this day that they did when they were first invented.
Hmm.
So it's really, really process driven for me. And I do think that it's the same for my students. Obviously, it's the finished product too, right? But it's just really fun to practice something new, get out of your comfort zone, um, and, you know, stretch your muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I love about the creative process, or like when I'm working, I feel like I just kind of go into a zone.
Mhm.
And I'm because I'm kind of problem solving a little bit and like creating, I'm not thinking about other things in my life that might stress me out or anything, like make me, question something I did, or you're just like in it. And there's just something about that that you can't get from kind of like anything else when you're
Right.
creating. And I
It's the
think,
flow state,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
A lot of people will say, oh, I'm not creative. I couldn't do jewelry making. And I'm like, yes, you can. Like, you're the perfect person to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's just repetition. You're
Mm,
watching and then you repeat, you copy, you
mm,
watch that person do an example in front of you, and then you replicate it. And then you understand how to make your hands do what you want them to do. And sometimes you get surprised, and that's fine too. Like, oh, okay, so that movement makes this mark,
right.
and then you download that information and you're able to replicate that again. Um,
Do you ever
yeah,
take notes about that, like when things happen that are surprising, or you do?
I think
Yeah.
that's why I love teaching, because I have learned so much from my students,
Hmm.
because they'll make not a mistake, but in a sense, sometimes there's a mistake that needs to be fixed.
Hmm.
And I'll be like, oh, well, let's try this, or I know how to fix that. And it's just been so interesting to be able to learn through beginners, even though I've been doing it for 10 years already.
Yeah.
And I love watching, this light bulb go off in their head. Like,
Like,
it's
I
just,
can do this kind of, yeah.
no, yeah, like, and, getting thank yous from people that are like, oh, I was so apprehensive at first, but, you know, this was really eye-opening to me. I didn't think I could do something like this. And, now I feel confident, you know.
Yeah. When you said earlier that like you feel like you're always learning something new, and that's what's exciting about it, is like it's always going to be evolving. And I imagine it's probably like that with teaching as well, like all of that, you're constantly getting to see
Yeah.
new things, and it's like
Right.
inspiring.
Yeah.
um, so I wanted to also ask, which I think you answered some of this already, but how does your mission to protect the ocean influence the designs and the materials that you choose for your jewelry?
So
um
the materials that I choose, it's all recycled sterling silver and
okay.
gold. And I also save all of my scrap. So when I'm making a piece of jewelry, there's not a lot of waste, but there's waste
Yeah.
material. All of that gets saved, and I either melt it down to make new metal myself, or I send it to a refiner. So
Okay.
I can save things like sandpaper that has had contact with the precious metal, that's got little tiny pieces of the metal still in it, and I don't throw it away. I will then send that to my refiner, who can take those little pieces out.
Oh, wow.
Even my dust filters from my polishing lathe, um, when I tumble my pieces in a
Mm-hmm.
barrel with water and compound, the runoff from that has tiny pieces of metal. So I'll throw that through a sifter and I'll save the sifter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also save all my floor sweeps, and all that will go to the refiner. Um,
And the
we keep
refiner is an extra cost too. Like I'm assuming, like when you send it, that's like
some of them will charge you, if you send enough, and if you find that you do this enough, they don't charge you, they send you money,
Oh,
which is,
wow.
yeah. So right now when the metal prices are high is the best time for someone like me to send the metal out because I'll get the best return on investment for it. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
The payout, and then I'll put that towards buying mill products from them too. So
Mhm.
they take the metal, they recycle it themselves, and they can sell it in different forms like wire, sheet, or rod, or casting grain, or things like that.
Okay. So they'll repurpose the metal then. Yeah.
Mhm. And then I
Yeah. So
can,
even that process of slowing down enough to gather all of that, like seemingly like is time consuming, which is valuable, you know? Yeah.
because yeah, yeah.
Um, that's awesome. So, and what
It
about
all
the
can't be
reflecting of,
perfect.
sorry.
Sorry. We can't really be perfect with our zero waste lifestyle that we all want to have these days. But we can do our best, and
Yeah.
even a little bit can help. I'm a bag collector, so I save all of my plastic bags that I get from buying materials and um, any like tools come in plastic bags. Literally everything comes in a plastic
I
bag.
know. Mhm.
I organize them all by size, and then I repurpose them for other things, and I never throw them away until they break.
Yeah.
Uh, and then my
What about the
packaging,
designs? I would like, I know that the designs are like heavily influenced. And I know we kind of talked about it a little bit already,
yeah,
like some of your collections, but I didn't know, for someone who's never seen your work before, and obviously I'll link out to it.
right.
I don't know if I want to speak to anything specifically about how
So specifically, one that comes to mind is the coral ear climbers that go up your ear. They're coral
oh,
cast coral pieces, and then there's a matching necklace. It's a set. I do 50% of the profits of that sale of both of those pieces to go towards Reef Relief, which is a place in the Florida Keys that helps educate and conserve their reef. So
wow.
I try to make pieces match an organization. I'm really working on that right now. Because before it's just, oh, I'll donate here and I'll donate there and I'll donate there. And then I'll give a piece to this auction, I'll give a piece to this auction. But now I'm really trying to hone in and say, this specific shape would be really good for this organization. So with my horseshoe crab,
Customizing it,
say it again.
customizing it for,
Exactly. Yeah. My
yeah.
my horseshoe crab pieces can go to so many different organizations because there's so much research being done about them.
Uh-huh.
And I have a few new horseshoe crab pieces that are being worked on right now. So I can kind of make one specific piece to the Wetlands Institute, one specific piece to the Cape May Point Science Center.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's a
Any
work in
fun
progress.
fact you want to share about the horseshoe crabs? Because I would just want to hear about it selfishly.
So many fun facts. So the one that everyone keeps talking about right now that has become more public knowledge is that the blood of the horseshoe crab has a high copper content, so it's blue.
Okay.
It sells on the market for $40,000 a quart
Wow.
because
So what
it's
about,
used
I'm
in the
sorry, go ahead.
pharmaceutical. It's used to test vaccines and medications because it has like a high congeal rate if it's been exposed to a contaminant or oxygen.
Okay.
And it wasn't until recently that we were able to create a synthetic version of it. I
Okay.
think just this year, they're allowing that to be put on the market. So we
Okay.
don't
Wow. This is
bleed
like
horseshoe
really new.
crab anymore. Yeah, we hopefully are moving towards not having to bleed them at all
Yeah.
because they're extremely important for the ecosystem. The red knot bird needs to eat the horseshoe crab eggs in order to make its thousands of miles journey from Mexico up to, I don't know if it's Canada. I always forget exactly where, but they are the farthest migrating shorebird. And
Oh,
they would not be able to make their journey without the energy that they get from horseshoe crab eggs. And
okay.
with less horseshoe crabs comes less shorebirds. And,
Uh-huh.
it's this whole cycle.
Oh yeah, wow. So all of the horseshoe crabs that like wash up on like, because like when we stay at Cape May, we stay in North Cape May. Like, are there, if they're dead, they're not really valuable at that point, right? Like all the, yeah. So I was wondering that. I'm like, is there anything that can be like salvaged from these? Like, yeah, that stinks, but
Fish
um,
bait.
yeah, bait. There you go.
Yeah.
Um, Thanks for sharing that though. That's so fun.
Yeah.
And I guess you did share about collaborations. That was another thing I wanted to ask about, because you shared about how you're collaborating with these different conservations. Is there anything else you wanted to share that you're excited about that you are working on?
So for the past 2 years, I've been invited to teach at Sedge Island Natural Resource and Education Center, which is off of Barnegat Bay in New Jersey. It's this tiny little sedge grass island that gets mostly covered by the tide, and high tide. And then there's this small patch of land that has two buildings on it,
Wow.
um, owned by New Jersey Fish and Wildlife. They were historic hunting cabins, from like the 1900s, where they're completely off grid. There's no Wi-Fi. There's, everything's solar powered. There's composting toilets, and there's no AC. And it's just a beautiful place to spend a weekend or a week if you're, fortunate enough to take one of their programs. They run hunting, fishing, clamming, research, all kinds of programs just centered on the natural habitat that it's set in.
Uh-huh.
Invite scientists out for research. They have summer camps, they have adult programs. And more recently, we've been doing this kind of science exploration and art making
Oh, that's
work.
awesome. Yeah. And how
So
long does that last?
just an overnight, it's 24 hours. You come in the morning, you stay all day, you get to explore the marsh with guided tours. You're hiking through the marsh or kayaking through the marsh. You get to go clamming, and you get to see this amazing sunset. And then you get to see this amazing sunrise right on the marsh in New Jersey. And then we make jewelry that's inspired by it. And it's like everything that I want to do for the rest of my life.
It sounds amazing. I
It
might have to
feels
put that on
like,
my to-do list.
oh yeah, oh my gosh. Like it's everything that I didn't think I existed, that I wish that I could do this all the time. It's the perfect intersection between me as an artist and as a naturalist and as a teacher. So this was the piece that we made this year. Can you see that?
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at the water. And was that like a hammered thing that you did to make the
Mhm.
water? Okay, I
Yep.
love that. So I need to do that with you sometime too. Because that's more like drawing on metal. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love the way you live your life. It inspires me. And actually there's some parallels because like I've been donating to some land conservation trusts over the last couple years. But I mean, I think I just learned so much about how I can even take it further just from what you shared. So, and like
For
it's
sure.
just beautiful to like live into this mission and like let it be your guiding force with your work. I feel like
Right.
just so much joy I think that you probably have from that, and then all the people that get to like learn from you and be inspired by you because I'm certainly inspired. So um
Super fulfilling, you know?
yeah, so would you, if you had any advice for aspiring artists who want to incorporate more environmental activism or anything like really that you value in your creative work, what would you share with them?
I would just say to start, we all think that we only have this tiny little speck of impact, but we are all part of a greater thing. And if we all do that tiny little thing that we think we can do, then it becomes a bigger impact later on. So just start and find a local organization that you can resonate with, that you believe in, that you can, work with in some manner, some way. You can volunteer, just get to know the people that are involved, learn the facts, and then share it with people that you're around. And, you'll start to make even more connection. And, the Sedge Island thing was, I was at a craft show maybe like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, then, and that craft show no longer exists, but I picked up this one customer who works for New Jersey Fish and Wildlife. And I didn't even know that. I had sent out a customer survey 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And she answered a question at the very end. I was like, do you have any ideas for me for the upcoming year? Like, what would you like to see more of? What just, general advice? And she was like, hey, I work and I teach for New Jersey Fish and Wildlife, and I would love for you to do a jewelry making retreat. And I was like, oh my God, I had
Yes.
no idea this was possible. Yes, I want to do this. So, just put yourself out there and you'll start
Yeah.
getting these opportunities that you didn't even know existed. And
Yeah. So
So it's
connecting with people too is a big part of it.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Share what you learn because people want to know. We can't, humans aren't going to protect what they don't love,
Hmm.
and humans can't love what they don't understand.
Oh, that's such a good way of putting it. Thank
I
you for
think
sharing all of this.
you're welcome.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on hkmjewelry.com, and my upcoming classes are all listed there. My upcoming shows are all listed there, and you can buy HKM, and I ship worldwide right now. And on Instagram, I'm HKM_jewelry, and on Facebook, I'm HKM Jewelry.
Okay, I'll share all the links too.
Thank you for
Anything
doing
else
this.
that you wanted to share before we sign off? No, I think we covered everything. All
Thank you
right,
so
thanks
much.
so much, Haley.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Bye.
Bye.